Good afternoon and welcome. What a wonderful, beautiful day it is to celebrate the legacy of Dr. Dorothy Height. Why don't you give her a round of applause? What a trailblazer she was on this beautiful day. It's a wonderful day to give her honor. It's a wonderful day. She grew up like me in the Blackwell community, and she believed, that's right, in the Blackwell community. Without community service, we would not have a strong quality of life. So how fitting it is that we recognize her accomplishment by marking the highway where she grew up during this Women's History Month, because she was quite a woman. She was quite a woman. As the leader of the National Council of Negro Women and the Young Women's Christian Alliance, and past president of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Celebrate the legacy of Dr. Dorothy Height. Why don't you give her a warm round of applause? At this time, we're going to bring up Reverend Dr. Dwight C. Jones, former mayor and pastor of the First Baptist Church of South Richmond. Why don't you give him a hand?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. What a crowd. I've never seen so much red in my life. We welcome you to First Baptist Church of South Richmond and to the Blackwell area of our city. And it is a delight for us to be here to honor Dorothy Height. And I did not know until this event was planned that she was born in this area. But I'm not surprised, because this area has been the birthplace and the spawning ground for many great individuals. And with gentrification taking place in our city, particularly in Blackwell, it is very important, extremely important, that these markers be placed so that the newcomers some notion or some idea upon whose shoulders they're standing. This is hallowed ground, and we want them to know that as they push us out, we're going to make sure that our history is not pushed out.
That's right.
And so we want to thank Delta Sigma Theta for their forward vision in making this day happen. You ladies are on the ball, and we want to congratulate you for making this day such an important day in the Blackwell area of our city. The church that we are sitting in, is over 100 years old, and we are on the verge of celebrating our bicentennial in 2021, 200 years, organized by free black people, the longest organized black church in RVA. And so we are happy about the historical designation at 14th and Hull, and we'll invite you back when we get one for 15th and Decatur.
Wow.
Now, I have the privilege, the daunting task of trying to recognize all of the distinguished elected officials that are present here today. And having been an elected official, I know that it's important to get your name called and get that shine. You know, that shine is important. And so I don't want to miss anybody, but we certainly have a long list here. And so you can pull my coattail behind me if I miss anybody. I have the opportunity to introduce, and we're going to hear a little bit later from him, but protocol requires that first I introduce the 73rd governor of the Commonwealth of the State of Virginia, the Honorable Ralph Northam. And his lovely wife is accompanying him. But you want to stand up and just turn around and say hello? And our Lieutenant Governor is here as well, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. And the senior legislator, I believe, is Rosalind Dance. Roz, you see? Right. From Petersburg. She got a red dress on, so that's all right, and let's see, Senator, they gave you a promotion. They got you down here, Senator-born, Delegate-born. I didn't see Dolores McQuinn. I believe that's it for state officials, am I right? No, Betsy. All right, Betsy Carr. And Tracy. Dawn Adams. Stand up, Dawn. We got a whole new crowd down there. I got to learn everybody. And from the city, our mayor, Mayor LeVar Stoney. City Councilman Ellen Robertson. All right. And I believe that is it for elected officials.
City Treasurer.
Where's Frank? Frank Thornton. Stand up, Frank. Marshall County. Doing a great job. And Dawn from the school board, you may stand as well. Kim Gray from City Council. Raise your hand while you're walking in the pen. And I will recognize the president of my university, my alma mater, Virginia Union University, Dr. Hakeem Lucas. If I have missed anybody, charge it to my...
Right here. City Treasurer. Right here. Up here.
And the ballot.
Your city treasurer, Nicole Richardson Armstead. Hey,
Why don't y'all just stand up and... Okay, at this time we're going to hear from our Honorable Governor. We're delighted to have him here today, Governor Ralph Northam. Let's give him a round of applause.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Reverend Jones, for welcoming us to your church, and thank you all for having me here with you today. It is a great day to be back in the house of the Lord, and Pastor Jones, I think you did an excellent job recognizing everybody. You keep up the good work, but I am honored to be part of this ceremony to unveil this historic marker today. I want to thank the First Baptist Church, the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. You all are the National Council for Negro Women and the Virginia Department of Historic Resources for your hard work to make this a reality. Dr. Dorothy Height was a daughter of Virginia, and we are proud to honor her life of distinction. In his eulogy of Dr. Height at her funeral, President Barack Obama called her the godmother of the civil rights movement. He also called Dr. Height a drum major for justice, for freedom, and for service beyond oneself. She fought for decades for the rights of African Americans and of women. She pushed for dialogue between black and white women. She worked for voting rights and for integration. Her work through the Young Women's Christian Association, the National Council of Negro Women, and the Civil Rights Movement made us a better country. As we stand here today, Dr. Height's work to forge a stronger, better nation free of racial and gender inequities is not yet done. We are still working toward full and free access to the ballot box. We still have work to do to fix inequities in education, health care, economic opportunity, and the justice system. Her story charges us to continue that effort. We are called to do our part to complete that work. We must share in the values that guided her life. Those important values should guide us forward. This marker is a small tribute to a large life. We owe this daughter of Virginia a huge debt for her work in service of the greater Commonwealth. Every Virginian should know her story and learn from it. Thank you so much, and may God bless all of you. Thank you.
Let's thank our governor one more time. We're going to have the celebration continue with some additional greetings from the Honorable Justin Fairfax, the Honorable LeVar Stoney, and our soror, the Honorable Rosalind Dance. Please come in that order. Let's give them a big hand as they come.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I am so deeply honored to be here with you today. Thank you to the dynamic and wonderful women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for your leadership. As I remind people, Delta means change. And so when Deltas get involved, things change, and for the better. And Dorothy Height was a prime example of bringing that change to our nation, first here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but then ultimately to our entire country. I want to thank Reverend Jones for being here, for your leadership, for hosting us. Thank our great governor, Dr. Ralph Northam, all of our wonderful elected officials, Pam Northam, our dear friend Senator Roz Dance for inviting me. I'd love to give Roz a round of applause. She actually was one of the leaders behind this entire effort. Thank you for your friendship. And Dr. Colita Fairfax, also want to recognize her. She is one of the foremost leaders here in the Commonwealth and in the country around our history. She's led the 1619 Commission. We share the same last name. I claim her as family. She doesn't claim me, but I want to recognize her. She's a dear friend, and I want to recognize her for her leadership. I just wanted to speak very briefly because this is such a special occasion and did not want to miss the opportunity to be here. Dr. Dorothy Height was someone who focused on the truth. She was a truth teller and a truth seeker. And as John 8:31-32 tells us, and Jesus said, the truth will set you free. And we now have to be on a path to seek the truth in every aspect of our lives as a commonwealth and as a nation. And I share so many things in common with Dr. Dorothy Height. And as I was looking into her incredible life and background, there were some things that really stuck out to me. She herself was born here, as was mentioned, in Richmond, in Virginia. I was actually born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She left Richmond to move right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Rankin, Pennsylvania, a town right outside of the city. I was not born in Virginia, but I got here as quickly as I could. And so we shared that connection. We also shared some other connections. She went and applied to Barnard College in New York. I went to Columbia Law School for my legal training, but she didn't actually get to go to Barnard. Because when she showed up, they had an unwritten policy that they would only allow 2 African American students into each class. It wasn't written down anywhere. This wasn't a rule that she could have read before she traveled all the way to New York City. But someone had an agenda, and someone had something unwritten that they wanted to use to stop her, but she did not let that stop her. She then enrolled at New York University, got her degree, and eventually made her way back to Columbia, the School of Social Work, and got her degree ultimately from Columbia, my law school alma mater. And so even when she was faced with discrimination, with unwritten rules, with secretive plans to stop her, she did not let that stop her. She held fast to her God and to her courage and her faith in our nation is better because she did all those things. And in high school, she started very young on her crusade for the truth and to protect and look after other people. And in fact, she first became known for her oratory around the issue of anti-lynching. That is what Dr. Dorothy Height took on as her calling when she was young. She saw what was happening in this country, where people were being falsely accused. They were not given due process, and they were having their lives in so many ways impacted negatively, in some ways taken away, because people wanted not to get to the truth, but ultimately wanted things to change in a negative way for nefarious reasons. And she wanted to put a stop to that, and because of her work and her life, we have now entered a new era where that is not allowed to happen in broad daylight, and people know what it takes to get to the truth. And so Dr. Height is so aptly named because she, although diminutive in stature, towered above so many people in this nation because of her moral courage, because when she was faced with discrimination and unfair treatment, and people who attacked her for who she was and what she was attempting to do, she never let that stop her, and she made sure that not only she, but our country rose to the better angels of our nature. We are a better country because of Dr. Dorothy Height, and we will continue to be a wonderful nation that seeks out the truth. And as I take my seat, I just want to share one quick fact and story. I mentioned I got to Virginia as quickly as I could. I didn't realize as a young person how deeply my roots in Virginia went until the week of our inauguration last year, when it was discovered that week in the old Fairfax County Courthouse, a manumission document that had freed my great-great-great-grandfather, Simon Fairfax, from slavery in Fairfax County, Virginia, on June the 5th, 1798. He was freed by a man named Thomas Fairfax, who was the 9th Lord Fairfax, as one of the first 2 enslaved Africans that he ever freed. That document was discovered that week. The original still exists from 1798. My father got a copy of it 2 days before my inauguration, and he gave a copy of it to me 20 minutes before I walked up the steps of the Capitol to raise my right hand to take the oath of office as the 41st Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so 220 years later, Simon Fairfax's great-great-great-grandson was being sworn in as the number 2 in command of the very same state. God is good. Thank you all so much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Oh, y'all can do better. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Before I begin, I would be remiss if I did not recognize the beautiful women of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Don't want to get in any trouble today. Already going to church, don't want to get in any trouble today. Not only are they a sisterhood focused on social change, but on social action. I also want to recognize the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Governor Northam, for being with us today, and also my predecessor, Dr. Dwight C. Jones, as well. You know, every day that we have an opportunity to lift up giants in the city of Richmond is a great day. I always tell folks that we are the center of all things arts, history, and culture in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And as Mayor Jones said, there's a number of giants who were born right here in the city of Richmond. And although she was a giant on the national scene, she was a child of Richmond first, born right here in the Blackwell community. In her day, she fought against a lot of the isms that we face even today. Racism, sexism. She worked diligently to ensure that each and every boy and girl, no matter where you live, no matter the color of your skin, had an opportunity in this world, particularly here in the United States of America. And while I am very, very proud as the mayor of the great city of Richmond, and when a child walks down the street on Hall Street, they can be proud too that this giant right here, they could be just like her. They could be Dr. Dorothy Height. They could be Barack Obama.
Yes.
But it took others, trailblazers way before us, to knock down that door and also to break that glass ceiling. You know, as a millennial, yes, I'm a millennial. A lot of times we think that we were the first to do it, that we did it the best. But we don't recognize sometimes that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. And we are grateful. I don't want to be the birthplace of other giants, but birthplace of this one giant right here, Dr. Dorothy Height. Again, greetings from the city of Richmond.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Protocol has been established, and I'm not going to get in the position of not recognizing someone that I should. So I would say to all the elected officials that are here and all the very important people, because you all are very important people because you came here today. So you're here because you're important. You want to meet somebody or share a memory of somebody that was very, very important. What I must say to the officers, to the members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, some of y'all don't know this, but this is day 2 with my sisters because yesterday we were in Petersburg at prayer breakfast. Yes, we prayed for everybody. We're still standing because we prayed that. But they gave me an assignment, and I must remember that my assignment is to read 2 letters to you. And they come from, you not only, you don't get just one when Delta's work, you get 3 governors, okay? You got the current governor, but you have 2 former governors. They just happen to be United States senators now, because they moved on to the national scene. But they are here because they remembered her when they were governors. They knew our sorority, Dorothy Height. And so, as much ado is due for those who have served us well and have made us proud, that's why we're here today. And I'm going to read these letters as I've been told to do. But I have to tell you one thing that I shared with the family, briefly, is that I had an opportunity to meet this great lady, to share a moment, a hug, or just to share a stage with her. Can you believe that? When I was a young mayor, I was invited up to Richmond because I'm in Petersburg, y'all. But now, Richmond is mine. You're actually in a part of my district. The 16th district, you're right in it. Isn't that right, Dr. Jones. That's right. That's right. I'm standing in the shoes of Senator Henry Marsh. My feet's bigger than his, but I'm still. But I met this gracious lady up close and personal. And I just can tell you that I wish I could remember everything she said, but she said something about promise, that I had promise, and I guess that meant she thought even as a mayor I had potential. But you know, today is her birthday. And know what? I am the first African-American female to serve as a state senator from Petersburg. Wow. And I met that lady. She touched me. And I believe, because I want to believe that that was what you call it, one of those seminal moments in life when you remember that something happened. And it was meant to happen on your road to where you are now. And I'm blessed because of that. Now we get to my assignment. This is where I'm going to cry and I can read the words. And first from United States Senator Mark R. Warner, and he writes for the family. I am pleased to extend my warmest greetings to all who are gathered for the unveiling ceremony of the Virginia Historical Highway Marker in honor of Dr. Dorothy I. Height. Reflecting on Dr. Height's life, the importance of her role in our nation's history becomes clear. She exemplified what it means to be a leader. Yes, she did. Through her leadership of the National Council of Negro Women, Young Women's Christians Association, and Delta Sigma Theta sorority, she worked tirelessly as an advocate for civil rights and women's rights. Today we commemorate her accomplishments and recognize her extraordinary and courageous leadership. Please accept my very best wishes for a successful event. Sincerely, Mark R. Warner, United States Senator. And we will give this to the family. And the second one comes from our other former governor, almost Vice President of the United States, Senator Tim Kaine. And he writes, Dear Dorothy Height Marker Committee, state and local officials, and assembled guests. It gives me great pleasure to congratulate the Virginia Department of Historic Resources and community partners as you install a marker commemorating historic civil rights activist Dr. Dorothy Height. I admire Dr. Height's work across our nation and abroad through her many roles spanning over 50 years. Dr. Height has a long legacy of promoting economic development and equal rights for African Americans and women across our nation. Through her service with the Young Women's Christian Association, the National Council of Negro Women, and Delta Sigma Theta sorority Incorporated, she has left a lasting legacy of service. Today our country and our Commonwealth continues to remember the important work of Dorothy Height and the impact she made on the nation. Best wishes for a rewarding and enjoyable commemoration. Signed sincerely, and he put this in his own right, Tim Kaine. And I will present this.
Let's thank our elected officials once again for being with us today, taking the time out to celebrate this special occasion. At this time, as we continue to acknowledge the accomplishments of Dr. Height, we want to bring up Preston A. Page, coordinator of the Dr. Dorothy Height Highway Marker Committee. Also, past South Atlantic Regional Director, Sir Thelma Pettis from Delta Sigma Theta, and Dr. Gloria Flowers from the National Council of Negro Women, and that will be followed by Mr. Jeffrey Randolph, one of Dr. Height's family members. They will come in that order. Mr. Page.
Good afternoon. This is amazing. I'm honored to be a part of this volunteer committee. Looking at this view just made all that hard work worth it. Definitely. On the behalf of the Dorothy I Height State Highway Marker Committee, I would like to say thank you for being a part of this historical moment. 7 months ago, we learned that there was a highway marker that's been in storage for years. We inquired about it. We inquired about the marker, and when we found out it was Dr. Dorothy Height's, a simple inquiry became a shared responsibility to see this through. Dr. Height's marker will now be in the community where it belongs, to educate residents and visitors of her story, her accomplishments, and lifelong dedication to justice, to fighting for justice and equality. My hope for those who take the time out to read the marker, to be inspired, to do their part, small or large, in the everlasting fight for justice and equality. Again, thank you for being here, and most importantly, happy birthday, Dr. Height.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And so, where are your hats?
She called me out.
On behalf of the South Atlantic Regional Director, Soror Juanita Massenberg, whose illness prevented her attendance, I greet you. I first met Soror Height when I was a student at Virginia University, when the National Convention was meeting on the campus of college campuses, because we had nowhere else to meet. I was a student. Need I say more? Dorothy Height was a native of Richmond, and she was the first national council. She was the president of the National Council of Negro Women for 40 years. She was president of Delta Sigma Theta for 10 years. Under her leadership, Delta's 5-point programmatic thrust: mental health, community service, international awareness, and other opportunities. Members were taught to implement programs that best serve the needs of each local community. Delta was recognized as a power maker and was consulted by the Congress of the United States and the White House on major legislation. Two of the programmatic thrusts indeed, and there were others that come to my mind, were the library service program and job opportunities. The library service program sought to make available books to the underserved. Chapters were challenged to provide reading materials, and we established traveling libraries. Significant programs today became because of the marker that we're making. It's being placed by a library. The Job Opportunities Program included not only employment practices, but job training as well. Under Soror Height's leadership, the Sorority's Community Service Program was developed. She believed that until the time comes when America has realized her full ideal of democracy for all, Delta must continue to increase her support of those organizations which work to protect the underprivileged and minorities. Soror Height remained prominent on the national and international levels and was recognized as a powerful leader. She marched at civil rights rallies, sat through White House meetings, witnessed very significant struggles for racial justice. She was most often the only woman and has been given little credit. On behalf of the South Atlantic Regional Director of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Mrs. Massenberg, I commend and thank the Dorothy I Height Highway Marker Committee, the Department of Historic Resources, and First Baptist Church in the Richmond chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority for recognizing the stellar achievements of this Richmond native and our beloved past president. If Dr. Flowers is not here, we will have,
Here she is. Let's give her a hand as she comes.
May the work I've done speak for me. And so when I'm resting in my grave and there's nothing that can be said, may the work I've done speak for me. To all dignitarians, special guests, and all in attendance, I stand on behalf of the officers and members of the National Council of Negro Women, Richmond Section. We stand to give honor to a heroic woman whose place in history we will never forget. Dr. Dorothy Height influenced so many lives with her projects of peace, social justice, and advancement of humanity here and around the world. Having received a mission mandate from Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, Dr. Height relentlessly gave of her time and her resources to continue the work of empowerment. She had little patience with social injustice, and she would say, if the time is not right, we have to ripen the times. We believe in the advancement of people, but she believed in the advancement of all people of all colors. Dr. Height received a myriad of accolades and awards throughout her 40 years. And she was a woman of greatness and distinction whose roots intertwined with ours. And it should be noted that over the 40 years, Dr. Height spent countless hours collaborating with men, women, celebrities, national, international, and community leaders. She marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. She counseled many U.S. officials, including President Lyndon B. Johnson, President Dwight Eisenhower, and President Obama. During her leadership, her vision for growth in the movement grew. The National Council of Negro Women is a coalition comprised of 200 community-based sections in 32 states, 38 national organization affiliates, and more than 3 million members, women and men. The Richmond section of the National Council of Negro Women collaborated with Dr. Height on many occasions, such as lobbying on Capitol Hill for various civil rights issues, attending monthly presidential meetings in Washington, attended the purchase of Bethune Council House, 1318 Vermont Avenue, Northwest, attended the unveiling of the Mary McLeod Bethune Memorial Statue in Lincoln Park, attended the dedication of Bethune Museum archives established by the Act of 102nd Congress, assisted in the inaugural committee that started the annual Black Family Reunion in Washington, attended the open house for the current headquarters at 633 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, December 1995. Co-sponsored the Dr. King's Learning Week, attended the many Height Galas, attended the yearly Black Family Reunion on the Mall of Washington, D.C., attended the yearly celebration of Dr. Bethune's birthday and the monument on Lincoln Avenue. In summary, the legacy of Dr. Height will serve as a reminder of the commitment to social justice that will forever define her. The Richmond section of the National Council of Negro Women is committed to her vision, using the collective power of women and men to improve the conditions of families and communities. We will continue to promote issues that include education, public policy, family health, economic development, professionalism, leadership, civil and political rights. And I would like to ask all members of the current National Council of Negro Women, Richmond section, and we have people also from Washington today, please stand and be recognized. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You don't know what an honor it is here to represent for my family, for my Aunt Dorothy. She's been a big impact in our lives. And before I get started, you know all her accolades, and everybody has done a wonderful job of telling what she has done. But first of all, she was a child of God. She had strong faith. She lived to do for others. That's why she wanted to get into the career as a social worker. And with the Young Women's Christian Association, and take care of others. And she lived her whole life, and I'm looking at this crowd. Delta Sigma Theta, always represented for my aunt. Many family members that are in the sorority. At a funeral, at a memorial, you guys decked out in crimson. Let me tell you, my wife was an AKA. She walked into the memorial and was like, what's going on here? But my aunt loved her, and she treated her right. She loved everybody. And it's just that, I'm looking over here, I'm seeing people that have been with her for, excuse me if you don't hear me, but been with her for years with the NCNW, and they're all like family to us. And stand if you're coming from DC. And there's so many people that have called me this week, from Representative Alexis Herman to a lot of people that she was, that were real close to her, saying that in their schedules, they were not able to make it today, but they just, their hearts are here with her, and everybody is on her birthday today. It is also my parents' 53rd wedding anniversary. Wow. So, I'm just coming from the heart here, and I just want to say that she kept our family, tight. She involved our family in everything. Whether it was, like I said, the Black Family Reunion, and the Black Family Reunion was not just for Black families. That was there to make Black families stronger. Everybody was invited, but she wanted to make sure that the Black family bond was strong. And if the Black family bond is not strong, we cannot move on and progress in life and do the things that we're supposed to do. So that's what she wanted to do, is make the Black family strong. And she believed in equality for everybody. She believed, she fought for it. She sacrificed her whole life, everything, her whole life for others, so that others could progress in this world and do the things that she felt they were supposed to do. And she, there's so many stories that I can tell. With my kids, it was for me growing up. I'm gonna go from the heart and tell a couple of stories.
That's right, it's okay.
Like you were saying, she was born in Richmond, Virginia. She moved out of here. I'm sorry, that's my New York coming out with. I see people from Hampton University out in the crowd too. But she moved from Richmond, Virginia, and she went to Rankin, Pennsylvania. And I don't know if some of you guys know that, but you could call her Dr. Dorothy Height. But my aunt didn't have a middle name. My aunt did not have a middle name. She was in a contest in Rankin, Pennsylvania. And all the little kids, she was only African-American, I won't say the word they called me, African-American that was in the contest. And everybody had their little middle names and would say it. So a little girl, she was like, the last little girl said, oh, I'm such and such, middle name, whatever. So she said, she just out of her head, she said, well, I'm Dorothy Height. Made up a middle name there, so. And through the years, it stuck. And it stuck, and she just, it wasn't about a name to her, it was about the work that she has had for her to do. And like I said, the accolades are nice and it's wonderful, and it's an honor for me to be around to see people honor her like they are honoring her today. But she worked so hard, and her mission was she was just so focused to work so hard for others that I don't know, I mean, when we went to events and she was honored with certain awards, I knew that it was, you know, she wasn't big on awards, but she worked hard and that's what came with it. And she was appreciative of those honors that came with it. And she took it, embraced it, and she made sure that those that were around her, no matter who you were, a president, somebody that lives in the neighborhood, whatever, she made sure that she got across to you that, you know, you weren't just going to be around just to be like, oh, because you're somebody. You're going to make an impact on this world with the platform that you have. So she had people around her and people embraced her because she was no joke. She would tell you what she felt. And they'll tell you. What she felt. And to the end, whereas it was rough for me because I was at the hospital, the Howard Hospital with her, and they were having a birthday party, 90th birthday party for her. And she was fine, you know, before that day, and they had the party, and everybody was wondering where's Dorothy Height. But she was in the hospital, and she was her last day. And my wife and I and the kids, we were at the hospital with her, with other people coming in and out. And it was something else. And I just had the honor of being a pallbearer in her funeral. And you know, as I stand up here now, I thank God for the things that she has done. I'm going to end because I'm not going to go on and on, but I thank God for the things that she has done because she's family members. My family, we're all over the country. You know, my parents in New York, family members in California. That's why a lot of people on here have family members on the road here. But the things that that she has taught us is not about, okay, you can go to college, graduate, get your careers going, and do what you have to do. But if you're not doing things for others, all those things don't matter.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that she really, you know, as I stand up here now, I'm sitting here like, you know, I'm really not. I know God has a plan for me, and I'm worth it all. But I'm really thinking like I'm not really worth being up here speaking because her impact and the legacy that she left. You know, I'm going to speak positive. I'm working on that. I'm working there, and I won't sit up here and say, "Oh, I can never reach that." But it's a hard path to go. And I just want to say thank you, everybody in here. You guys have, I know, one way or the other. You know, if you have not met her before, if you met her, it's still been an impact on her because it's from the heart, and what you feel with her, feel of her from the heart. I know that she's feeling it now. Looking down, looking at this and saying, why is my nephew up here talking? I just want to thank God because when she was allowed, I spoke certain things, you know, I spoke for her also when she was here. So she knows that I can talk and talk and talk, and I'm going to end it now, so I just want to say this.
Today, and we're not through learning. We're going to bring up our keynote speaker. She's going to be introduced by Julie Langan. She's going to introduce, and that's going to be followed by a musical selection by Dana Dargan. Please welcome Miss Julie Langan, who will introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's my privilege to introduce Dr. Colita Fairfax. She is a professor at the Strong School of Social Work at Norfolk State University. She received both her MA and PhD in African American Studies from Temple University. She earned her master's in clinical social work from Rutgers University and a bachelor's in social work and Afro-American Studies from Howard University. Dr. Fairfax is a very busy lady. She's active in her community and just recently delivered the keynote address at the Global Status of Women and Girls Conference hosted by Christopher Newport University and Norfolk State University. She's also co-chair of the Hampton 2019 Commemorative Commission. Dr. Fairfax's professional career has been devoted to exploring socio-historical data and newer analyses of historical models to analyze social policy and best community practices. I have no doubt that she has made her mother and family very proud, and they are here today with us. Best of all, I know Dr. Fairfax as Vice Chairman of the Board of Historic Resources, the gubernatorially appointed board that approves highway markers, and in fact, Dr. Fairfax did approve the Dorothy Height highway marker that will soon be unveiled. So after a bit of music, you will be hearing from Dr. Colita Nichols Fairfax.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Bring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. They sing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Before we move on, I was just going to say I bought a replica of, the original was a little bigger, but the family room's got a replica of the Congressional Medal of Honor. So,
What a heartfelt and meaningful day for us to engage in the ritual of remembrance and honor one who took us to new heights, Dr. Dorothy Height. It is so great to greet you all. I see the red and white out there. I'll get to you in a minute. But I absolutely am so grateful to greet our governor and first lady. Thank you for being here. Mr. Mayor, our state officials, Senator Dance, of course, my main man, Justin Fairfax. Justin's family is from Fairfax County, and my husband's family is from Fairfax County. They're trying to figure it out. But we love him, we claim him as our own. Our other state officials, program guests, I thank the Virginia Department of Historic Resources, my department, I'm claiming my department, because they worked so hard to make this happen with particular emphasis, Mr. Mark Wagner and Preston Page. Thank you so much for your leadership with this program. I also must thank Mrs. Julie Langen, who is a capable director and wonderful steward over the work that we do to memorialize and to make sure that the Commonwealth of Virginia remembers the history within our state. It's always wonderful to greet the colleague and friend of my late father, Reverend Dr. Dwight Jones. It's a blessing always to be here in First Baptist South Richmond. I am just honored to be with my beautiful sisters, the Richmond Alumni chapter of the devastating divas of that Mrs. Connie Cuffey, where is Mrs. Cuffey? President, Mrs. Cuffey, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And for the Richmond Alumni chapter, my aunt, my mama's baby sister, was Mrs. Wanda Dabney Sanders, and she was an active member in the Richmond Alumni chapter. But I just want to be clear that she hails from a family Alpha Kappa Alpha. In fact, last week, we buried a cousin, my grandmother's sister, who had 72 years of membership in Alpha Kappa Alpha. So my aunt was a woman of her own mind. She wanted to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta, but we know that every Delta has an AKA friend, and every AKA has a Delta. We're all family. We're all family. I'm also so grateful to greet the Richmond section of the National Council of Negro Women. I learned about this organization in my home church, the Good Shepherd Baptist Church, because Mrs. Mary Mickle was an active member, and I see TT, who used to babysit me. That's right. So I am an active member in the Hampton Newport News section of the National Council of Negro Women. So I so much feel at home today, ladies and gentlemen. I got to acknowledge Tanya Scott Hickman. She and I grew up together in the historic Washington Park in Northside. She was on the marker program. Want to get right to it. I believe that my hometown of Richmond have not really celebrated the genealogy of legacy of black women. Richmond can claim 3 nationally known figures: Maggie Lena Walker, Virginia Randolph, and Dorothy Height.
Wow, that's right.
Dr. Height's mentor, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, another woman of Delta Sigma. I know I am. Was a generational peer of Mrs. Walker and Ms. Randolph, and through this relationship, we are always connected to a genealogy of women who prioritized service, leadership, and community in the 19th and 20th century. They were the generation once removed from enslavement, and it was this generation that perfected self-help and cultural methods to attend to needs and advance our community, because for 400 years we've been excluded and abused by institutions that maintain racism and white supremacist ideology. I offer that they were womanists. They were womanists. They went where feminism isn't willing to go. They were womanists. Because they employed community-centered principles. Yes, they were. Yeah, hand clap. I appreciate it. They were womanists because they advanced both black men and women, because the patriarchy tends to exclude men, our men, and tends to exclude women. And so Dr. Height extended that genealogy through her work to us by her unwavering role as leader in the black vanguard. Known as the grand dame or godmother of the 20th modern century civil rights movement, she added height, she added depth, she added width to the role of women in leadership and service. One wouldn't believe that she was severely asthmatic as a child and wasn't expected to live into adulthood, but we bless God that He decided otherwise. Amen. She learned the value of community work necessary to uplift impoverished people through her parents and her role as a community social worker. Her work with the YWCA at the local and national levels served her well, as she not only learned about the needs of black girls, she learned about community development methods and interracial outreach. In fact, she is not credited, but she should receive the credit for pushing the YWCA to integrate. After she became president of the NCNW, she was one of the only 2 women on the dais at the March on Washington in 1963 for Jobs and Freedom, with none other than icon Mrs. Mahalia Jackson. Now, Dr. Height was a woman who spoke her mind. She was truthful to a fault. You were right, my brother. I did my research. Because there are times she said that Dr. King spoke longer than he was scheduled to speak. But if he didn't, we wouldn't have that treasure I have a dream speech, right? But we know that he provided us with that treasure because Mahalia Jackson told him, tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream, Martin. We also know that Dr. Height was disappointed with the male leadership because none of them advocated specifically for black women's rights. And so she spoke her mind. She was honest, brutally honest, to a fault, but she said what had to be said. She was fearless, organizing Wednesday in Mississippi, which was dangerous work in 1964, where both black and white women met to discuss racial justice issues. Dr. Height added height to the political stratosphere by helping Shirley Chisholm, another woman of Delta Sigma. The first black woman elected to Congress and the first black woman to seek a major political party nomination in 1968. They both helped to found the National Women's Political Caucus in 1971, which continues today. Her concerns were women in leadership, women employment, education, fair pay. Given that black women only consist of 8% of the U.S. population, we know that there are plenty of public and private spaces that don't see us. Dr. Height said, and I quote, "We have to improve life, not just for those who have the most skills and those who know how to manipulate the system, but also for those and with those who often have so much to give but never get the opportunity," end quote. And so with the National Council of Negro Women, she obtained federal money to create training programs for teenagers and food cooperatives in rural communities. She also created Generation Woman Power, a project dedicated to training black women in opening and operating their own businesses and in vocational development. And she was concerned with our generation. She said, and I quote, "I reflect on the hope and challenges facing women in the 21st century. And I'm also reminded of the protracted struggles of African American women who joined together as sisters in 1935 in response to Mrs. Bethune's call. It was an opportunity to deal creatively with the fact that black women stood outside of America's mainstream of opportunity, of influence, and of power," end quote. Dr. Height added height to the exosphere when she created in 1986 the Black Family Reunion Celebration. I remember this. I was a student at Howard during that time frame. We would go to the mall. There would be wall-to-wall pavilions. There were policy think tanks. There were youth exchanges and cultural exchanges, plenty of food. There were discussions about how to improve our families and our communities. Oftentimes, we don't think about Dr. Height as a womanist, but she was. Washington, D.C. delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton said, and I quote, "Dorothy Height deserves credit for helping black women understand that you have to be feminist at the same time you have to be African." So she was a womanist. I offer she was a womanist. I believe that we need to remember that she embodied womanist principles of a family-centered, male-centered companionship paradigm that was community-centered, applying those principles in her contributions. We must be reminded of the genealogy that she continued and the genealogy that we have inherited. She did say, if the times aren't right, you have to ripen the times. She said that she always married civil rights with women's rights because she knew that black women's issues are both racial and civil. She knew if you uplifted black women, the whole community is going to come on up and agree with her. She knew that she had a very seat at the table of leadership, meant that she could speak for black women's rights, largely ignored by the feminist community and excluded oftentimes on the civil rights agenda. She offered the following: we African American women seldom do just what we want to do, but always what we have to do. I'm grateful to have been in a time and a place where I could be a part of what was needed, end quote. So my daddy always said, people get the leadership they deserve. We deserved Dorothy Height, and thank the Lord he saw fit to bring her here. She dared to attend to the needs of our community, the needs of our nation, and she added height to wherever she walked. You are so right. She was a little woman, but she was large in figure, tall in figure. So we know of books and movies called Wuthering Heights, of great heights, height down. We also know of a popular movie and a book, Fahrenheit 451. Well, we also know one whose popularity outweighs everything, outweighs fame. outweighs money, the phenomenal Dorothy Height. We thank her for her sacrifice. We thank her for her service and for her leadership. We thank her for extending the genealogy to us, for leading us in this desolate land called America, because we are her beneficiaries. My 12 minutes are up.
You deserve a standing ovation. You deserve that. Come on. You remember when Grandma calls the Dr. Fairfax? She's an AKA, but we love her anyway. She knows how to do it. And 12 minutes or less. Yeah, thank you. This time we're going to have it later. At this time, we're going to have the reading of the proclamation by the Honorable Ellen Robinson, and she's going to be followed by Janice Mathis, the Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women, and that will be followed by a selection by Dana Dargan. Delegate Honorable Ellen Robinson, please give her a hand as she comes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Sea of red. Yes. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. In many ways, in many ways. I'm honored to have the privilege of reading this proclamation on behalf of the City of Richmond City Council and the leadership of the city as the legislative body. But I would also acknowledge that I'm sure that the mayor is also of the city of Richmond is also a part of this proclamation as well. To the Honorable Governor, his dear wife, to all of the elected officials that are with us this afternoon, our pastor of this church, Dwight Jones, and former mayor of the city of Richmond, and thank you so much for your accommodating us as you do in so many ways for community activities and events that are important to the city and the history of the city of Richmond. It's been a wonderful experience this afternoon to be in this place and to hear the marvelous stories, but the legacy of such a big and powerful woman, and to remind ourselves of who we are as a people, that as God has created us with all the big and bold ambitions and capacities to do marvelous and great things, but to take the time to acknowledge the history that we inherited and the liberties that we inherited because of people as Dr. Dorothy Irene Height. I thought I was going to have to change this proclamation. When you said she didn't have a middle name. Certainly have a middle name on this. Thank you. So I am supposed to present this to the president. Is she present? Nope. No matter how often I do this stuff, I get nervous. Ms. Connie Duffy, President, congratulations, great job. Obviously, you're doing a fabulous job. So, from the City of Richmond City Council, in regards to Mrs. Dorothy Irene Height, whereas the honorable members of the Richmond City Council, the governing body of Richmond, Virginia, and the United States of America, do hereby unite in solidarity and common purpose to officially recognize, honor, and celebrate Ms. Dorothy Irene Height. And whereas born in Richmond, Virginia, Mrs. Dorothy Height lived her early childhood years in Blackwell community and later became known and recognized as a leading national advocate for African American rights and a pioneer of social welfare, reform, and economic development for Black women, children, and families across the nation, and I would add, for all people. Whereas during her lifetime, Mrs. Height was an active leader within the civil rights movement of the United States from 1950 to 2000, and whereas Dorothy Height served for more than 40 years as a chair and president of the National Council of Negro Women, and also served for many years as a national leader for the YWCA, and whereas Ms. Height also from 1947 to 1956 as the national president for the renowned and distinguished Delta Sigma sorority Theta, excuse me. All right, let me get my arm lifted right so I can do this right. A private sisterhood organization of predominantly Black college and educated women, and whereas in recognition of her many years of outstanding dedication, leadership, and service, Ms. Height earned and was presented numerous awards and recognition, including the President Medal of Freedom in 1994 and the Congressional Gold Medal, which is considered our nation's highest and most distinguished civilian award given by the United States of America's Congress in 2004. Now, therefore, Richmond City Council does hereby recognize, honor, and celebrate Mrs. Dorothy Height for the national leadership and the services to the African American rights, social welfare reform, economic development for Black women, children, and families across the nation, and bring this to our attention of all of Richmond residents on this day of March 24th, 2019. I love these ladies. You know what? You will never leave anyone. You'll fill in the gap and help us do it all.
And that's my boss right there coming up for the day.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. As a daughter of a Methodist minister, I know that at this point we should sing a hymn and go out. But I do want to thank my dear Sarah President Cuffey for adding one more thing to your to-do list and allowing us to be here today. We've learned of it just a few days ago of the celebration, and we at the National Council of Negro Women just couldn't rest in our souls unless we were here to add to the tributes, Mr. Governor, Mr. Lieutenant Governor, all the elected officials, my dear sorors in Delta. I'm not wearing red today, but for 39 years I've had that privilege. Again, our NCNW, if you're a member of NCNW, if you would just quickly stand and wave your hand, National Council of Negro Women. There is one member here who won't stand, but she ought to stand, and really she ought to be in this pulpit right now, because for more than 20 years she worked at the side of Dr. Dorothy Height. She was confidant, sidekick, traveling companion, and I hope that she will stand now, Miss Michelle Holder. Dr. Fairfax, I am so glad you're here. And I so much enjoyed your remarks.
Yes.
They were insightful and compelling and well-informed. You are obviously a scholar to be reckoned with. I can't wait to see your book about Dorothy Height and the movie that will be made from it. But I admit I have a selfish reason for being delighted because some people think NCNW is a wholly owned subsidiary of Delta Sigma Theta. And I'm glad to dispel that myth here today. I'll stop cracking jokes and go ahead and read this letter. Ms. Connie Cuffey, President, Richmond Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Richmond, Virginia. Dear Soror President Cuffey, NCNW, and I thank you, the Richmond Chapter, and everyone responsible for assuring that the life and accomplishments of the iconic Dorothy Height, the godmother of the civil rights movement, are forever memorialized here in Richmond. You have found the perfect way to celebrate her 107th anniversary of Dr. Height's birth. Today's ceremony of the marker that is being dedicated to Dr. Height's life will serve as a permanent reminder to succeeding generations to take up the mantle of equality, the sword of peace, and the helmet of justice. Each time I walk into the historic black woman-owned building at Pennsylvania Avenue, which is the home of NCNW, I am reminded, and people kept saying Dr. Height was small. Dr. Height was at least 6 feet tall. But I digress. I am reminded of Dr. Height's towering commitment to civil rights and social justice. Following in her footsteps, this is Dr. Janetta Cole writing, as a daughter of Delta Sigma Theta and the 7th president of NCNW, an organization to which she devoted decades of service, is an humbling experience that inspires me to be aware, and as the young'uns would say, stay woke. We are very grateful that Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is one of NCNW's 32 affiliated organizations. Through unity, we gain power and strength. I recognize that we must pick up where Dr. Height and those like her left off. We must cut a wider path for many more of us to walk hand in hand, bringing every woman with us. The way we honor the past and those who sacrificed and suffered for us to learn the lessons of her story and teach them to women leaders of the future. As we like to say at NCNW, we are fortified by the past, but we are focused on the future. I say to this distinguished audience as you honor my shiro, mark this day in your hearts so that Dr. Height's legacy forever lives in her deeds and, more importantly, in our communities. That's Janetta Betch Cole, former president of Spelman and Bennett, and now president of National Council of Negro Women. Thank you.
All right, we were going to have a selection, and the day is well spent. And we know that you want to get out to go to the marker. Have you enjoyed your day? It's been a wonderful celebration. I'm so honored to be from Blackwell. I don't know what to do. Give Blackwell a hand. Return it over to good stuff. And give the ladies and gentlemen a wonderful round of applause for putting it all together.
Join us. Go there. Hey! You're not nervous now, are you?
All right, man.
While we wait for the others to come, I'd like to just welcome you on behalf of the Department of Historic Resources. I'm Julie Langen, its director. And as you've heard, inside the church, we have a lot to celebrate today. We have a birthday. We have National Women's History Month. We have a highway marker program that's the oldest in the United States. So we have a number of things to celebrate. For the Department of Historic Resources, it's really an honor to have the Governor and First Lady with us to witness firsthand the power of the Commonwealth's marker program to bring people together and to honor our history. While I never had the opportunity to know Dr. Height, I have no doubt that I would have liked her a great deal, as she embodied qualities that I greatly admire: passion, commitment, a calling to public service, and tenacity. I imagine that she was often referred to as a force to be reckoned with. I actually consider that a compliment. Some of those same qualities were exhibited by the members of the committee that planned today's event. The 3 male members were certainly outnumbered and overpowered by the strong women who generously gave their time and expertise to planning today's event. I want to thank all the members of the Marker Committee, everyone at First Baptist Church of South Richmond, the Richmond Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, especially Doris Bay and Valina Dixon, the City of Richmond Public Works Department, as well as GRTC. Given that it's National Women's History Month and we have some strong women among us, I would like to invite some of our speakers to come forward and help with the unveiling. We have Dr. Fairfax. If the First Lady would like to come up and help. Gloria Flowers, Connie Cuffey, and of course, Dorothy Height's family.
Michelle.
After the unveiling, everyone is invited to retrace your steps to the Amani Center for a reception.
Countdown 1913.
1, 3.
That's all of them.
That's great.
You know what I call it. She don't know when she.
Hey, yeah, you would.
Bring your name. Girl, we need
Michelle.
an iPhone day. You know. I had to.
Michelle.
Your portrait
Oh, which way you going? Go ahead. Michelle. Michelle. That's the NCNW, National Council of Executive Director. She's been working for us.
Come on, let's go say hello
Tilted.
Get the man in too.
Can you?
Give us like this.
Yeah, I'm good.
Hey, Latika.
How's it going? Yeah, the knee's going.
We go way over there.
Yeah, it's right there. All right, look. Let's go first. All right.
because I gotta do this book. They're not gonna give up.
All right. Yeah, I was there. Bright and early. Bright and early.
I'm sorry. I know.
Oh, okay. Good.
Let me get this out your way.
You finished for the day?
Yeah. All right.
I got one. Oh, I got one. Oh.
Where is the governor?
Wait a minute. Colita, don't move. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you.
How you doing? Pretty good. Throwing, right? Yeah. I had called to see if I could come to video your event you last week. I talked to your son. Yeah, I think you told me. Yeah. I want to get you now. Let me get you by yourself.
Okay. Mommy, that was here.
Colita didn't know that you were Harris.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta get out of here.
I said, that's Harris. Yeah.
Come on. Layla.
Trying to get off this ground.
Through the years.
Can I get you, Miss Mathis, and Miss Holden, right here?
You want to go slide this way?
Trying to get one. Okay.
Just bring them on over.
Thelma Patterson just coming on the bus.
I thought that was Fairfax with your husband.
No more.
Okay. As soon as they move, we'll put you in there.
Did you get it? Thank you.
All right, let's go.
Okay. Oh, okay.
All right. All right, here I go. I'm gonna let down. I'm gonna let it wait. Okay. Don't go nowhere. Stay right there. Stay right there. Come on. Get it. All right. Turn around so I get a little bit of that right there. Yeah, come on. She taught me well. Here we go. Lady. There you go. Okay, that'll work.
I got another one. Another one too? The white one.
One more. Got it.
All right, NCNW member. NCNW
That's who I was asking you about. Okay, you got it now? This is who I was talking about. Okay, how you doing?
Let's see if we can assemble our NCNW. There's one right here.
Where? Right here?
They all right here.
Where?
See right here.
I need to bring them up.
One in.
NCNW. They come? Okay.
Right here.
We're gonna take over this platform.
Okay.
Just move your way up closer. Michelle, move on up there so we can take over this property.
I'm moving on this way.
Nah, you're not gonna get in. Come on, get in the picture.
Huh? You can take a picture right here.
Yeah.
Huh? You can take a picture.
NCNW.
Right here.
I I'm trying to get all the NCNW to come up.
I worked in the headquarters.
Come on. Ladies. Come on. Go ahead. You NCNW? Go ahead on up there. Go ahead. Say excuse me. Excuse me. You want to have the bogart. You know how y'all do it. Yes, I do it. Come on here. We're going to go ahead on in there. Go ahead on in there. Say, excuse me, NCNW. I'm bringing all the NCNW. So, I got a couple more. Go ahead, take that spot. Go ahead on in there. Get in there. You with NCNW? NCNW? All right. Who else? Where's Miss Manford? NCNW? Go ahead on up in here. Come on, let me get NCNW right quick. Stay right there. Come on. Come on, give me NCNW. Ma'am, what's they doing? What they doing? They doing them together?
The Delta, no, just the president.
All right, hold up. Let me get this. Ladies, right here, ladies. Cut that head just a little bit. Head back, yeah, just a little bit. There you go. Okay.
All right, wait a minute now. We trying to get the
NCNW, right.
Richmond section.
Yes.
We need to get together.
Go, get them in there.
We need to get it today.
Come on. NCNW Richmond check. NCNW Richmond. We got it. NCNW Richmond.
Okay, where Miss Mathis at?
Who else?
She over there. Okay, let me get her in. Miss Mathis, you said you wanted to
Marty Joe. We'll talk.
Miss Mathis?
I'm going to get right. You got them together? Yeah, turn right here.
Oh yeah, gotta get this one.
All right, we ready. Okay.
And we're going to continue with our celebration. We're going to bring up now the president of the Richmond Alumni Chapter, President Connie Cuffey, who's going to recognize some distinguished guests. Won't you give her a hand as she comes?
Hello, everyone. Would everyone please stand? You are our distinguished guests. So give yourselves a round of applause. You are distinguished because you chose to be here today for this momentous occasion, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much. We hope you have enjoyed everything that has transpired so far. Continue to enjoy the reception, fellowship with one another, enjoy the music, and have a great day. Thank you so much.
Let's thank President Cuffey again. This time we're going to have this historical perspective and reflections. First of all, from Albertine Belcher, from Richmond historian. She'll be followed by Senator Rosalind Dance. Give them a hand as they come.
Good afternoon, everyone. I asked if I could have a couple of minutes to pay homage to the woman of the hour. I wanted to briefly give you a little bit of information about her family prior to leaving Richmond. She, of course, you know, she came from good stock. From her memoirs, we know that her father was a contractor and her mom was a nurse here. But her father was more than a contractor. I did a little bit more digging this week, and he was also a collector for the second oldest Black-owned and operated insurance company for many decades in the South. The Richmond Beneficial Insurance Company. The building still stands right on 2nd Street. So he was a man, he was truly a Renaissance man. Her mom, as she stated in her memoirs, was a nurse at a Negro hospital. I can tell you, as a recognized authority on early Black medicine here, that hospital, everyone, was the Richmond Hospital and Training School for Nurses, which changed its name in the year she was born to the Dr. Sarah G. Jones Memorial Hospital. That hospital continues today as Bon Secours Richmond Community Hospital. So these Black doctors, along with that lady, Dr. Sarah Jones, who will be one of the 12 ladies memorialized in bronze at the Capitol. So her story and her legacy just attaches to so many things. But I wanted to give you that background, and I can even tell you where they lived, at 2814 Old Dominion Avenue. And having said that, I would like to leave us quickly with a charge, because giving you a little history doesn't mean much without a charge. I'm sure Dr. Height would have wanted that. And that charge comes from 1896. So we have Hamptonians in here. I know at least one, I'm one too. Okay? Audience, that charge comes from the graduating class of 1896 of Hampton Institute. That motto was, find a way or make one. Find a way or make one. That really doesn't leave any room for excuses, does it? It sounds like something Dr. Height would have said. But let's bring that home quickly with some examples. Instead of lamenting what was even as a teenager, she didn't acquiesce. She stood up for herself when the girls group that she was in, where the head person did not allow Black girls or Black kids to swim. And she approached the executive director herself, according to her memoirs. So her commitment to social justice started very early. Secondly, find a way or make one. We have to talk about our drill majors for justice, people like Judge Spotswood Robinson, Attorney Oliver Hill, and all of those incredible folks. All of them played a role in dismantling that Plessy Ferguson 1896 separate but equal doctrine. It took a village to overturn that thing. But what did they do? They found a way or made one. Just like Dr. Height started in her youth in advocacy, we have to mention Barbara Johns. Because instead of simply lamenting the inequalities down there at R.R. Moulton, what did she do? She found a way and she made one. She states she led that walkout, called those drill majors for justice, and of the 5 cases bundled together for Brown v. Board, hers was the only one initiated by a minor. So what did she do? She found a way, and she made one. Her homeroom teacher, an algebra teacher, left there in '55 and came up with a young wife and 2 little kids in tow to Virginia Randolph High School. He was given a full load of 5 math classes. But he knew, audience, that in order for those kids to compete with other kids anywhere in America, they needed calculus. What did Barbara Johns' math and homeroom teacher do? He volunteered to add on calculus to his heavy load. And those kids went on to Duke, Chapel Hill, Union, you name it, Stanford. What did he do? he found a way, and he made one. That man was my father, the late Ernest Parker. Lastly, when we talk about finding a way of making one, we have to talk about Miss Virginia Randolph. She's near and dear to my heart. And I'm her biographer, and I'm working on a documentary on her. When she first came to that Mountain Road school, the clay was so, when it rained, it was so muddy that it was like quicksand for the kids. She took her salary of $25 a month, spent $7.50 to get gravel. What did she do? Miss Virginia Randolph found a way, and she made one. So lastly, everyone, when we run into obstacles, instead of just acquiescing and accepting the status quo or lamenting those issues, we must do just like they did and what Dr. Height would have wanted us to do. Find a way or make one. And in all that we do, we must endeavor to honor the brotherhood of man, sisterhood of man, and the fatherhood of God. I thank you. Oh, and by the way, I presented my book to Dr. Height because she was in it here in 2003 when she came here to do the signing for Open Wide the Freedom Gates. That was a special moment, and this is even greater. Thank you.
First it was afternoon, now I think it's evening. Hello, Sarahs and guests. And of course, the family of our beloved Sarah, Dorothy Height. And it was great hearing the history of how the I became Irene. That was just creative and it stuck, right? That's a lady, she selected her own name. The parents do that, but in this case, your grandma did that, right? I'm looking at her grandmother. Your aunt did that, okay. All right, so she took care of that. I won't be brief because I've been with you already. I've been in front of you before. I marched down the street to the first marker, the Virginia Historical Marker, but this is the icing on the cake for me because I'm here and I'm anxiously awaiting the unveiling of the marker. The marker. That's right. That is the hard work and dedication of the members of the Richmond chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I will tell you that your Robin is second to none as far as following your instructions, Madam President. Because she does not quit. If he doesn't get it, she's right back into the zone. And I want you to know the state was letting me know, Senator, we did do our part now. We want to let you know we did our part, but we don't want you to get there and think you're mad with us because everything is not going. They want to share the wealth, if you understand that. I'm talking in code, only Sarah Bay and the president probably know what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, this is a beautiful day, and I agree with the nephew, right, that our beloved Sarah is appreciative of the birthday present that she's receiving from the Sarahs in Virginia, because we all claiming this day, right? So I know that this is an awesome birthday present for her. So I am not going to regurgitate all the things that I could say and all that I know, but I'll just say I'm glad to be here on her birthday to celebrate this grand occasion with her family and my sisters in Delta. Thank you.
Let's thank Senator Dance again. She's a good Delta. We appreciate that. We want to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Hakeem Lucas, President of Virginia Union University, for loaning us the jazz band and the drum line. The drum line took us down the road, and we are so appreciative of Virginia Union University, my alma mater, and we will be taking any donations that we would like to get. Okay, and now we will have a selection from Virginia Union, from the jazz band, and that will be followed by the order of the day. Take it away. for the unveiling of the Delta marker. Because you know how Deltas do it, right? We do a big, come on, let's give a big drum roll. And those who are supposed to be up here helping to unveil, please stop forward right there. For the unveiling of the Delta marker, come on, make some noise, crowd.
Sweetheart.
We want everybody to see it. The family members are coming up. Come on, give
We want to bring up Dr. Doris Day, who has been the coordinator of this event. Will you all give Doris Day a round of applause as she comes?
Good afternoon, everyone. What a great day. Thank you all so very much for coming out to this grand affair. I am grateful to be able to present to you the rest of the chairs of the Political Awareness Committee of the Richmond Alumni Chapter. Would Florence Bay please come forward, as well as Valina Dixon. Our other chair, Kimberly Dixon, is in New York and not able to be with us today, but she did play a very, very, very important role. To our guests and sorrows, we'd like to thank Jerome Jones for the wonderful painting that's here of Dorothy Height. It is wonderful. Everyone is excited, and so are we. We would also like to bring to your attention some of the powerful young ladies who were with us as we sat at the table to plan for this great event. You know, the saying says, you don't get anything done until you have a woman on board. So I'd like to present at this time, as we give just a little token of our love. We could never repay you for your services, but we want you to know we appreciate you. Miss Sherry Shannon, would you please come forward? Sherry Shannon. Is Sherry here? She's guests and sorrows, please note your program that you received today. She is the one that created that picture that's on the front of that poster, as well as the program. So please, when you see her, give her homage that she's due. Miss Tanya Scott Hickman. Where's Tanya? I know she's here. There she is. Always doing something. Tanya, we want you to know that it is because of you that we are here. We appreciate you. You are one of the women that we are really grateful to. Thank you so, so, so very much. Would you please come forward? We have a little token of appreciation. Thank you so much, Tanya. We appreciate it. It is Tanya and her connections that she has here at First Baptist Church. Everything, I said, well, Tanya, what do you think? She said, who is he? We'll see. And then it got to the point where I said, Tanya, and she gave me the eyes, okay. All right, I'll back off. I want you all to recognize Miss Deisha Cousin, the director of Thank you so much. It's a director's baton. At this time, I'm sure you all have heard the great way that our mistress of ceremony has been guiding us and leading us. Ms. Michelle McQuinn Williams, I would Reverend Dr. Michelle McClendon. And we will please welcome her back. And please give her a very and while she's here, we would like for her to close us out. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Yes, before we close.
I would be remiss if I didn't take just a moment to thank this awesome committee led by Dorothy I. They worked so hard. Everything was well planned, well organized, and I just want to let them know that I appreciate you and I thank you for making this such a successful occasion.
The Sunrise who assist us, who were the ushers, /hostess, /drum leaders, /guiding us along the way. If you're standing, wave your hand. If you're not, please stand. This is the team effort.
I'm sorry, but I want to make sure you know that you've got to come back to be with us again for the installation of this marker. It's going to be placed right beside the one that was installed today. But we had a little hiccup in the permit to do that, so it will be at a later date, but we will let everybody know that this grand marker will stand in prominence along with the other one. Wonderful day. Thank you for hanging in there with us. It's been a great day. We're so glad. I know I'm the only thing standing between you and cupcakes. So God bless you. Good night.
Of